Hello, everybody. Welcome to Show to V with Mike G, the show of life, the show of gin, the show of Coffee Liqueur, the show of today's guest, the founder of Revolution Spirits, Mark Shilling. Mark is, I had this sense, he kind of reminded me, I saw some pictures of him on Facebook from the 80s, the 90s. He looked like the lead singer of Echo and the Bunnymen. And lo and behold, we've been going back and forth trying to meet each other for years now, get a chance to sit down and talk. And Mark's been very supportive of the things that I've done, and I hope that I've been supportive of the things that Mark is doing down there at Revolution Spirits. We've got some gin, we've got a coffee liqueur, raspberry liqueur, lots of great things happening out there at what is Texas's Distillery Row out there in Dripping Springs. So without further ado, we talk about lots of things. I always pictured Mark as a quarterback, but it turns out he wasn't a quarterback. But Mark's got a really interesting story, and I hope you all enjoy my interview with Mark Shilling.
I went through a long period of scotch.
Yeah.
And today, it's not that I don't like it, but I tried, a friend of mine recommended a gin cocktail that uses Lafroig as a wash.
Whoa. Yeah, as a rinse?
Yeah. And so I bought a bottle and took out to the office so I could play around with it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The one that he made me was really great, and I didn't remember exactly the ratios of it. It was Lafroig wash with gin and Lillet.
Interesting. So you just get the peat essence, but then the brightness of the
and the recommendation was any like really smoky, peaty.
Yeah.
So
something. Well, Lafroig is the quintessential. Yeah.
So I got it sitting up on the desk there, and one day I'm thinking, what? I'll have a little scotch this afternoon, and I poured it, and I was like, holy shit, this is really, really peaty. Really, just over the top.
Yeah.
Which 10 years ago, that's what I really liked.
What did you like about it? That it's so abrasive?
Just big and bold and in your face.
Yeah.
But today, when I drink scotch, I find that I'm liking things that are a lot more subtle, nuanced, kind of laid back.
Were you a punk rock or a new wave kid? Because
why do you ask?
Well, so here's the thing. I think about like people, the way they drink, or the way that they maybe create products or brands, and that it's an extension of their personality, right? And so we're all younger, right? And we are looking for those things that are a tad bit more abrasive, a tad bit more punchy, instead of being nuanced. Because nuance and delicacy, in a sense, comes with age. Right. And appreciation for things in a different kind of way, and being more laid back. Because when you're so anxious and you're so angsty and biting at the bit when you're younger, that I would imagine that's the kind of spirits that we would drink as well. And also, I've seen a picture of you with big feathered hair, so I don't know which one it is.
So I'm a little bit older. I mean, we're a product of the time we grow up in, right?
For sure.
And for me, music is mostly late 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And I'm all over the place, but mostly rock.
Yeah.
The harder and louder, the better.
What do you think is the paramount hard rock band? Like, what's the prototype for you?
That gets into a sticky area because
Why?
The way that I categorize things,
there's
for me it could be, what are you talking about? Just hard rock? Or are you talking about metal or speed metal? Or
that's fair.
You start getting into
that's fair. That's really fair.
I start thinking about, it could be this here or that there.
Well,
I would say, overall, if I had to just choose the one band, AC/DC.
Yeah. Oh,
Hands down.
that's good.
Not a question. And oddly enough, growing up, I was a lot more into the studio albums, the what now I consider overproduced.
Yeah.
And in maybe the last 10 or 15 years or so, I've really gotten to feel a lot more comfortable and excited about the live stuff.
Yeah.
And the older stuff too. So.
Yeah, because I think about all the Mutt Lange stuff that he did, whether it was Back in Black or Pyromania. I think he did with Def Leppard. He certainly did not a journalized Hysteria, which is a hyper produced record.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I like
for
it,
sure.
Especially the right time and the right place.
Yeah, well, Queen, for example, would never have been the band that they are. Beach Boys included too, or the Beatles. Fuck, the Beatles would never have been the band that they are and have that kind of resonance after they've disbanded if it hadn't been for just taking that time in studio. It's hyper produced stuff.
Yeah.
So if you went the other direction though and make it very, very minimal and very metal, what resonates for you then? Because I'm trying to think about that time frame. Like if we're looking at late 70s or even early.
It's not necessarily, when you ask me like what's for that particular genre, it's not necessarily going to be related to that time frame. It's just that's kind of where my base is.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so, gosh, let me think about that a minute.
I think a lot of people, they start with Sabbath,
Well, I was thinking about that, and definitely would be in there.
Yeah.
But I think maybe Megadeth.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
If I had to choose, sometimes you don't want to choose, right?
I know it's hard because you think like, well, now I've chose Megadeth, so what? Master of Puppets now I can't talk about. But like, no, you can. It's all of it, right?
Right.
Like Pantera, even. I
totally
grew up on Pantera. But yeah, Megadeth. Countdown to Extinction for me at least. That is such an amazingly tight and almost sterile record in how precise it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still brilliant. It's some of the best riffs. It's some of the best vocal hooks. It's a pop metal record if you think about it.
Actually, talking about brilliancy, I would consider this way more along the lines of punk or post-punk than anywhere in sort of the metal area.
Right.
McCluskey, are you familiar?
No, I'm not familiar.
They're actually they've broken up, but they're an Irish band, very punk and very on your first listen you think very cacophony like stuff. But as you listen through it, like there's so much brilliance in what they're doing.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. And you have to really think about it a little bit. But there's they do some stuff with some violins and some other stringed instruments and stuff.
When was their seminal recording? When was that released? We're talking 80s or
no. This
pretty recent?
Would be more like I want to say maybe 2000.
Oh, okay, so it's pretty recent.
Yeah, fairly recent.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
I think they only did 2 or 3 releases, and I feel like I saw something recently about them getting back together, maybe with a little bit of a change.
Yeah. How do you feel like it's a very recent wave of bands that maybe I wouldn't have considered that they would ever get back together? Like Faith No More is a good example. Like
I just heard about that the other day.
How do you feel about that? Do you think it's necessary or just because the money's run dry?
I wonder about that sometimes, particularly when you see bands that I'll tell you, I saw Chicago and REO Speedwagon here several months ago.
Peter Cetera, was he singing that version of Chicago? He was only in that one incarnate of Chicago. So I don't know.
I think that he was on that particular tour.
Wow, that's a super tour.
But REO in particular, I thought, I loved them as a kid.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about them much in years.
No.
Suddenly they're going on tour. I'm like, well, I never got to see them, so I want to see this.
Yeah.
And I went. And I was thinking, well, are they just kind of running out of cash and need to because you think about those things.
Man, because I don't want to think about it like that.
But I'll tell you what, not only were they fantastic, Chicago was better than fantastic. I mean, it's just like they've got so many musicians with so much talent.
Oh, so much talent, yeah.
And I wasn't expecting this, but at the end of the show, because you're every time you go to a show, particularly a band that you know a lot about,
right.
You're waiting for certain things, right, that never make the set list.
Yes. Yeah,
so with both, I'd picked out a few things, and I was thinking I'm disappointed.
Right.
So at the end of the show, REO comes back out on stage with Chicago.
Wow.
And together they play several of each other's things.
They just like they
it was like
back
a
and forth.
giant jam session,
Oh,
all of
that's
them
so
together,
cool.
and it was really, really
Where'd
awesome.
you see them?
It was in Cedar Park.
Oh no, the amphitheater.
Yeah.
How is that venue? Someone's asking about
The
that.
only
today.
time I've been there, I thought it was pretty good.
Sounds pretty good. Is it outdoor venue? Or
No,
is it
no,
covered?
it's indoor.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I missed it. There's a couple shows out there, like Deftones and Incubus. I think was one revisiting the late '90s for me. There's been a couple like Tool was coming out there. I think they're coming.
Oh yeah, I think I'd heard several people say that apparently tickets were sold out before they even had a chance to.
Yeah, like just insane. And oh man, were you a Tool guy? Ish,
Not
right?
ish. Yeah, I mean
yeah.
there are a lot of bands that I like that I don't love. That if somebody said, "Hey, you want to go see Tool?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go out of my way for it.
Is there a band you'd go out of your way for?
Oh yeah.
What do you got?
Again, let's get into like
Which
levels
genre?
How far am I willing to drive? You know, there are a lot of bands.
Let's
that
say
I'll see,
okay, so this is
well,
fair.
I'll see a lot of bands I'll see coming through town, and I'm like, oh hell yeah, I want to go.
Yeah.
And then it gets to be that day, and I'm busy, and I'm doing stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
you know,
No, I just turned down.
And that's part of living in Austin. You get so accustomed to it. You think, well, they'll be back in 6 months or a year or whatever.
Right.
But I always try to see Nashville Pussy when they come to town.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah.
Let's see. Horton Heat, probably.
The Rev, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's from Dallas. Is that where he's from? He's from Texas somewhere, isn't he?
I was thinking San Antonio, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, something like that. So there was a point, at least in the '90s, where you could catch him all the time.
Well, you know, I used to see Guy Forsyth here in town
Uh-huh.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hardly ever see or hear anything about him anymore.
No
I don't know
kidding.
if it's because he's out other places or he's not playing as much
Yeah.
or what.
I don't know. I'm not really sure. There's that
Yeah.
that distinct like Texas stuff that because I moved to Austin 2000, so it was
From where?
from Houston,
Okay.
and then from then Salt Lake, then Detroit, then like all these fucking places. But I just think about how much the music has changed and how much it influenced me and how probably I don't think I would be in this particular industry, no less know the people that I know and have those things in common with them if it wasn't for music. So were you a player or just like a longtime fan?
No, we talked about the piano
with the piano
earlier,
piece.
and I was in band. When I was younger, I played trombone.
Oh, yeah,
and I was actually pretty decent at it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started playing football, which
Oh,
lasted.
no kidding! You're a tall dude. It
didn't last very long. I always played soccer, which was my sport.
Yeah.
But I played football for one season or two.
What position?
As a tall, skinny guy, you
Yeah.
would find this pretty funny.
I was thinking quarterback, but it's not
No,
quarterback,
no.
is it?
Defensive line.
What the fuck is a
Yes.
tall, skinny guy?
Yeah,
Really?
well, when you're that age, and I guess the coach is trying to figure out where to put people.
Right.
And, you don't
Not
have
even
much
like-
to work with.
He's
but
heard of safeties, right? That would work okay too.
You would think.
Yeah,
I always thought I'd made a good running back.
Yeah,
but,
for sure. You're not too
I mean,
stout, though.
what the
You're
hell
pretty
do you-
lean.
No. But anyway, soccer was my game, and I
Soccer,
got
yeah.
really into that, and you don't have time for all this other stuff.
Yeah.
and so I kind of left that behind.
Are you a Texas guy? Where did you grow up?
I was born in New Mexico.
Oh no, where in
but,
New Mexico?
Tucumcari.
No shit, I was born in Roswell.
What? Really?
Yeah,
How about that?
yeah. Apparently, I'm implanted from aliens. That's what people tell me.
So when I moved here,
Yeah.
not to Austin, but to East Texas,
Uh-huh.
where I mostly grew up, I had so many people, including my teacher,
Your teacher?
commented to me one day that I spoke such great English for being from New Mexico.
What did they expect from New Mexico?
I don't know.
There's like who was it? Lufthansa. My mom tells me they had a major training base out there. I mean, pilots are pretty bright guys. You know what I mean? Like in New Mexico, there's a couple military bases, a military school. I wonder why it was such a surprise.
I hear things all the time about.
Did she not hear the new part and just thought you're from Mexico?
I don't know, but and apparently it still happens frequently today
No
with
kidding.
people. I hear stories about people thinking they need a passport to go to New Mexico.
What the
and-
fuck? You kidding me?
Seriously, yeah,
That is
it's
insanely
crazy.
stupid.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
insanely.
we live in a time where there are a lot of uninformed people.
Sure, but they like it. They like being uninformed.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's,
that
it's
happens.
easy.
Yeah, it's totally easy. I mean, if I can go, I can, you give me 2 minutes, I can go get a burger and fries for $2 and a 12-pack of beer. It's like so close to me. So yeah, it's easy.
Right.
It's an easy place to be.
Right.
So you say when you moved to East Texas, where about in East Texas?
Tyler.
Tyler. Okay. What, like, you guys moved from New Mexico? Was it parents' work?
No. Well, so my family is originally from Texas.
Oh, okay.
On one side they came here, I think it was 1826 or so, with Stephen F. Austin from Tennessee.
No kidding.
So I have like really deep roots on that side, and then on the other side, my great grandfather came here from Poland in I want to say 1888,
late 19th century.
Yeah. And so, rooted in Texas, but my dad worked for the railroad, and so we moved around a lot when I was really young.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how this happened, but I also have a ton of family in New Mexico.
Yeah.
Kind of aside from our being there, stationed there
right
during that period of time, and all over the place, from Gallup to Santa Fe to Clovis.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
And it was from the other side of the family.
The other side.
Just
okay.
They kind of spread out, I guess, over time. And
I wonder why. Huh. Well, I mean, it's just interesting to go back and kind of look at it. Yeah. When we were up visiting my parents for Thanksgiving, and my mom, she retired from nursing and she does pet grooming because it's a good way. She loves animals and stuff. And so, but she's also gotten really into genealogy, and it's insane the amount of information she got about our extended family.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'm German, right? She's like, well, actually, if you go look at this report at Ellis Island, your great grandparents are 100% Swiss. I'm like, wait, so I'm a fucking 8th Swiss? That doesn't make any sense. It's profound. Like, just people moving, spreading, procreating, all that. And then all of a sudden, you're just like, you have this different base you never even realized. So, but you ended up moving to Tyler. How old were you when you moved over there?
I was in the 3rd grade.
Yeah, not too bad then,
whatever age that is. So old enough to kind of know what's going on.
Yeah.
But,
how was it? Yeah. How is Tyler? I've never been out there.
It's a lot different now than it was then.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in high school,
mm-hmm.
we had 2 major restaurants to go to dinner at.
And that's it.
Chili's and Bennigan's.
Chili's is not so bad.
I mean,
El Presidente, Mark. El Presidente margarita. That's a way to spend an evening.
But now we're actually we've got our gin in 3, 4, 5 restaurants in Tyler.
Oh, that's cool.
And a couple of places where they're really doing some serious cocktails.
No kidding.
And I'm like, this is not the place I grew up.
They're craving it, right? Because in a sense, it's like a vacuum for so long, and you don't have that Is that what you think's happening?
I don't know that they're craving it as much as the world's a smaller place today than it used to be.
Yeah,
I think mostly because of the internet.
Sure,
there's a lot more information and stuff out there, and so you get a few people with a little curiosity, a little initiative, a little drive, who start thinking about it, start doing it, and then suddenly it starts happening.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a good point. I mean, the world is far smaller, although it's actually not physically changed at all.
Right.
You end up, I'm in Asia. You're from Austin? Really? We know some same people. I don't know how things have gotten smaller, or if this is merely all just a big hologram, which some Japanese scientists have said. I'm not really sure. But so you grew up. So did you go to high school in Tyler as well?
I did, yeah.
Okay, and that's when you did soccer, and then you were a defensive line and all that. What kind of were you? Just a sports guy in high school?
No.
Kind of academic too?
Definitely not. In fact, I will tell you, if my high school chemistry teacher knew what I was doing today, he would be rolling over in his grave. If he were alive today, he would probably be sending out flyers all over the country.
Don't trust him.
Yes, do not do this. He actually called me in after class one day and suggested that I transfer out of his chemistry class into
some other remedial
biology or something,
right.
whatever else you could substitute for that, because I just I wasn't interested in that sort of thing at the time.
What were you interested in?
I was 16 years old.
Chicks and
cars and girls and loud music and cheap beer and
well, I guess that seems like that's pretty. I've not been to Tyler, but I'd imagine in many
same
Texas
as
towns,
everywhere.
man, it's
right.
the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, so was the sports thing? Did you just take to it, or I mean, you have
It was really it was more soccer than anything else.
Yeah.
You know, football worked for a little while. I tried baseball and
Yeah.
some other things, and soccer was what worked for me.
Yeah.
I still play today.
Oh, cool.
I've been off and on over the years,
Oh, I
but
didn't know that.
it's like the one active thing that I was reasonably good at.
Yeah.
And
you kept at it.
Yeah, and as you get older, you have to keep doing stuff like that because once you stop, everything goes downhill really fast.
It's like leaving your car out in winter.
Yeah.
Right. The engine just doesn't start
Mm-hmm.
because you got to keep it going and keep moving. And, it's an interesting thing too when you talk about health for a little bit. That people think, well, I've got back problems. I shouldn't work out my back. It's like, well, actually,
it's exactly what you should do.
Exactly right. Yeah, and I think it's such a weird thing when we think about health. Like, but my legs are sore. Yeah, my knees are messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do squats. I mean, yes, you got to be careful and stuff, but strengthen that stuff up. And I think it's really, really important, especially, God, what a tangent, but especially being in an industry where people drink a lot and they smoke a lot and they party a lot, which is totally good. It's admirable at times, but you got to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. And do you find that it's harder to do that as you get older?
I do, but only because there's so many more demands on my time today.
Yeah.
And I don't know this necessarily because I'm older,
right?
But it's because
just
I'm
busier.
in this. Well, I'm in this business now. It's still relatively new, and there's so many more things to do, and so many less resources. If I could look forward into the future, a year or 2 years or 5 years,
mm-hmm.
and I think hopefully at some point I'll have somebody that I can rely on to do this or to do that.
You can kind of look at larger picture things.
Yeah, maybe I can
tactical.
Focus more on a smaller number of things.
Yeah.
And still have a little bit of time for outside activities or inside activities or just
activities.
Just going home and paying the bills.
Yeah. It gets busy. It really does. Did you? I'm certain you did some kind of stint in college. I don't know if it's problematic.
I did several stints in college.
Was it in Tyler? There's a college in Tyler.
So I went to A&M.
Okay.
And was very distracted by
the same things as you were in Tyler, fast cars, cheap women, and beer.
Fraternities and mm-hmm. stuff like that. I left. I will say, for the record, I did not get kicked out.
You fucking left.
No.
It
was suggested to me that I should take a long semester off.
Really?
Yes.
Who suggested this to you?
One of the counselors.
Yeah.
And so I transferred back to Nacogdoches to Stephen F. Austin. I spent one semester there, and I absolutely fucking hated it.
Right, as many people do.
Yeah. And against my parents' wishes,
right.
And, they were paying the bills. I went and secretly reapplied to A&M.
Okay.
Got all my got reaccepted, or actually, I don't think I had to get. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, I
what
wonder.
The
They probably had you on like academic probation or something.
Yeah,
right?
something like that. And it's like you got to do this, and then you can re-enroll.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a place to live, set up the whole bit, and then I went home and I announced what I was going to do. And I don't know about that, but they let me do it.
Sure,
anyway.
Sure.
And so I went back, spent some more time there. Started out strong. Got distracted again
for the same reasons. Were you a player in college? I think that you.
Not really that. I just
okay.
I was just like. My mind just I'm always like going so many different directions.
Yeah.
I never really learned how to study and apply myself in the way that you should.
Mm-hmm. Well, whatever that means.
Right. Yeah. Whatever that means.
Getting good grades anyway. Right.
Yeah. I learned a lot of good stuff, whether it's in class or out of class. It was really useful.
Mm-hmm.
But I eventually went back to Stephen F. Austin again.
Why would you? But did you? Was that your call?
It was, and the reason was because I was at a place where I wanted to just get finished,
right,
get the degree, and move on.
Just be done with all this shenanigans.
Just be done with it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to wait the amount of time that it was going to take for me to finish at A&M.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to Nacogdoches. I actually got involved in some student organizations, student government, a bunch of different things, and somehow I started applying myself.
Why would you do that, Mark?
I don't know what happened. Which is funny because at the same time, I probably went out more,
Uh-huh.
drank more, partied more, did more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's sort of, I got to a place where I figured out how to manage it.
And it like almost coalesced into being productive.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe because it's social, and sometimes like if you keep that social thing going, right?
I think it's a matter of, some people learn in class.
Yeah.
Some people learn in applied situations.
Right,
Like
right.
take auto mechanics, for example.
Mhm.
You can learn how to fix all those things out of a book
Yeah.
all day long, but you can't really do it until you get your hands dirty.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of a combination of like learning it and doing it and practicing it, and
Right,
and
right.
a lot of it is just learning how to deal with other people, how to
Yeah.
manage, relationships and be nice to people and things like that.
So something happened, and it just kind of switch flipped, and you are now interested. What was your official major then when you went back to Stephen F. Austin?
Well, so I started out. This is part of the problem. I started out as an architecture student at
Really?
A&M. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. I was really into that, and what happened is just like with the chemistry,
Yeah.
I'm not mathematically inclined.
Right, right.
So the creative part of it was great.
Yeah, I built the best looking building to work underwater ever,
But when you have to show your work,
yeah.
and suddenly, it's like, I don't know that I couldn't do it. I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so the whole creative part became not so interesting anymore when you
Right,
had to
right.
back it up with science and engineering and all that other shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I got thinking about it, like, well, if I'm going to change my major, what should I change it to that I might actually be interested in enough and feel comfortable enough that I can do well in it?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I chose political science and history.
It's so funny. Because, I mean, I guess I can see political science makes some sense, right?
Well, I was interested in politics and government sort of in a broad way.
Yeah.
I've always been really interested in history, but thinking about applying that to the workplace
Yeah.
at the time, it was like, what are you going to do with that other than be a teacher or go to law school?
Right, right.
So for a brief period of time, I thought, well, maybe I want to go to law school,
Okay.
which I didn't.
Okay, good,
And
good.
I've never looked back on that. at
Never
all.
regretted it.
Yeah. But I will tell you today, although I don't know really what the most direct practical application of political science or history has been on my work, whether, in this field or otherwise.
Right, right.
One of the things that I've recognized when I was in college, all of my roommates, accounting majors, finance majors, business majors, whatever, they couldn't write or communicate worth a shit.
No kidding. Even verbal, they couldn't even.
Verbally, yeah, but if they had to
right.
write a paper for a class,
No
they
good.
would come to me, and I would, for the most part, be the guy that wrote everybody's papers.
Oh, wow. Did you make any money on that?
No. 'Cause
Damn
I
it,
I was
really?
stupid.
Yeah.
I
Well,
didn't
you're
know.
not stupid, but
But today, if I were looking to hire somebody, and I had a wide range of different backgrounds,
yeah.
I would tell you I would give preference to the person with a liberal arts degree.
Yeah.
If they had any other sort of experience or knowledge or ability or something to do the particular job,
Right, right.
just because I know that they can write, they can communicate. There's something about that.
I totally agree with you. I totally do. And if you, even if you get a philosophy student that's stuck working at an accounting firm or something, that's a brilliant mix if you
Right.
think about it. Like, well, I can do tactical stuff, but I also can think. I can be creative, But so where did you parlay that? I imagine then, did you finish with a poli-sci degree?
I did,
Stephen F.
and
Austin?
I was thinking about either law school or graduate school
Right,
of some
right.
sort. I went back to Tyler. Not really sure what I'm going to do with all
Were you
this.
staying with your folks when we went
I
back?
was, yeah. Which was an adjustment.
Yeah. How does that disrupt the lifestyle that you were once living in both College Station and
Well,
Stephen F. Austin?
it's like, you go back and live with your parents, and they got rules and
Yeah.
expectations,
Fucking
and
rules.
you're going to push on that some.
Yeah.
So, and I'm the oldest of three, so I'm the
Uh-huh.
one who's broken all the rules, and my
You're
brother.
the first one to break them.
My brother and sisters to this day still don't appreciate what I did for them.
Oh,
They
made
had
it so much
yes,
easier for
they
them.
had it so easy.
Oh man, I did that same shit for my
Yes.
brother.
Every firstborn does that, and
Yeah,
the siblings never really get to
they never
appreciate
know.
it.
But that's fine.
yeah.
It's fine. So What
So
were you
I'm
doing
back
when you
there.
went
I'm
back?
thinking about graduate school, trying to figure out what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and I ended up. And this has happened to me my whole entire life. I just sort of fell into the next thing.
Right.
And
I think people are like rallying against you right now. Like that Mark, he always falls upward. What the hell is his problem?
if they see my bank account right now, they might think otherwise. But
Yeah.
no, so I was kind of screwing around trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I ended up doing some volunteer work for a political campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a old crazy woman who was also volunteering, answering phones and doing stuff like that. And she said to me one day, this was right down the street from my parents' house. It was easy to go and spend some time.
Yeah.
She said to me one day, you're really good at this. I know a guy that's running for office who needs some help. I'm going to call him and tell him to hire you.
Wow.
And I thought, okay.
Was that interesting to you at that point?
At that point, anything that paid me enough money to be able to go to the bar and buy a few drinks was good.
Yeah.
But also knowing that she's this crazy lady, I thought,
wonder,
whatever. So, I kind of dismissed it. About a week later, I got a call from this guy. And he said, hey, so-and-so called me and said I ought to talk to you about doing some work for my campaign.
Yeah.
And it started out, this is really funny. He just wanted me to help him sell some tickets to a fundraiser.
That was it?
That was it. I'm like,
easy enough.
Okay. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
So I did that. And within a couple of weeks, keep in mind, I'm fresh out of college. I don't know shit about anything. Within a couple of weeks, I'm running the guy's entire campaign.
Holy shit. What was he running for?
For state representative.
State representative.
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty big. Out of college?
Well,
that's your first kind of PR stint, if you will?
Yeah.
That's good.
He's running against a 4-term incumbent in a district that, there's no reason in the world to expect that he could win.
Yeah.
And I don't have a fucking clue what I'm doing.
But you're doing it anyway.
It's just like common sense kind of stuff.
Yeah,
though, right?
yeah.
And so I end up running his campaign.
Wow.
He ends up winning.
What the? A 4-time incumbent, and you beat him?
By, I don't remember the exact amount. It was like 26 votes or something. Like something ridiculous.
Narrow.
Yeah, I mean, it was like just barely. So he wins. He's coming to Austin. And I ended up coming and working for him at the Capitol as a staffer for one session.
What year were we talking?
That was 1991.
Okay, cool. Early 90s.
So, yeah, I moved to Austin in December of 1990.
Okay.
Worked for him that session and quickly realized that he was a fucking nutcase. Something that, like,
well, in all fairness, the lady was nuts. So obviously, nutsy people.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed reasonable throughout the campaign, and it's like sudden.
What does that mean, though? That's a good question. So, what made him? Can you think of a moment that you're like, dude, this guy's nuts? Is he like erratic? Is he bipolar? What exactly does that mean?
My thought all these years has been that once he actually won the election, that he started getting the big head and thinking that he was meaningful in the grand scheme of things.
I see.
And
inflated sense of ego.
Yeah, and you don't come to Austin as a freshman legislator and think that you can run the place.
Right.
You get in line, you learn how things work,
sure.
You pay your dues, you work your way up. And there were a number of things just a little bit crazy, and he listened for whatever reason. I'm not sure that he should have.
Yeah.
But throughout the campaign, he listened to me when I said, I think maybe we should do this or do that.
Did he kind of hold you in high regard because maybe you're the one that helped him edge out what it was a really, really slim margin of winning?
I don't know, because I feel like after that happened, once we started working together in Austin, that everything changed. And suddenly, like, he's got it all figured out.
Sure.
Doesn't appreciate, the input or whatnot.
Yeah.
And it just became a little bit uncomfortable.
Interesting.
So I quit. I said, you know what? It's not really what I want to do. And I didn't, again, I was back in a place where I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was like, maybe I should join the Marines.
Did you join the Marines?
I tried.
Okay, good.
And that's actually kind of a funny story. I have a good friend who's a former Marine guy that I went to high school with. We talk about this a lot. I went down to a recruiting station and talked to a guy. He actually talked me out of it.
What? What did he say? Not that that's not an unreasonable thing, mind you, but what did he tell you?
Well, two things. He said, one, this was 1991.
Shortly before Desert
It was the
Storm.
first, it was
right?
right in the middle of that. And he said two things. The first thing he said is, I don't understand why all of you college guys come in here and want to join up and go into infantry.
Yeah.
And all of the dropouts come in and they want to get these positions doing, computer,
it's almost
like high tech kind of stuff. Yeah.
it's
like, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to
let me get some action.
I don't do stuff half-assed.
Yeah.
If I'm doing it, I'm going all the way. And so we had that conversation. And the second thing he said was, by the time you get processed and get in, go through training and all that, all of this stuff is going to be over.
Yeah.
And you're going to end up stationed in
Somewhere.
bumfuck Iowa for 4 years
Right.
or something with nothing to do. And it's going to be a big waste of your time.
Wow.
And basically talked me out of it.
Did you say, you know what, recruiter guy, that's pretty reasonable? Did you
know,
walk out?
I don't remember what I thought about it at the time, but I didn't do it. And then I ended up just sort of, because I'm in Austin and I've been around the Capitol. I ended up getting a job with a trade organization representing the chemical industry.
Okay. What kinds of all chemicals? Certain
chemical manufacturing.
Okay.
So being from Houston, there's a lot of that down there. Doing lobby related work.
Yeah.
So, I ended up getting into lobbying, which is not something I ever planned to do.
Interesting.
Not something I ever wanted to do. It just kind of happened. And so that's what I've done most of my adult life until I started the distillery. Yeah.
So lobbying is an interesting thing because if House of Cards has taught me anything, it's that lobbyists, they're kind of the bad guys. Is that really the case?
No, it's actually my position is that it's the opposite. I've never seen House of Cards. It's been on my list.
You should watch it.
It's been on my list.
If nothing else, Kevin Spacey he plays a mean guy.
I love Kevin Spacey.
He's fucking killer.
But I'll tell you, I have so little time to watch stuff, and when I do, it's like I get into one thing and I got to stick with that until it's done.
Yeah.
And so I just haven't gotten around to House of Cards yet.
I think there's some intrigue to it, some political mystique and intrigue and stuff.
Yeah,
but you think the lobbyists are the good guys?
I will tell you, in 25 years of doing this, of all of the bad guys that I've come across, only twice were they lobbyists.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What the rest of the time? What were they? Corrupt sheriffs,
other people.
Yeah.
And the reason there are a couple of reasons for that. I think it's easy to blame lobbyists for things.
Sure.
Because if you're an elected official, obviously you're not going to take the responsibility for anything.
Of course not. You want to risk your
you're not going to blame your voters,
no,
right?
No way.
But lobbyists, it's easy to put that off on, because they think of us as like car dealers or something.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Used car dealers.
Exactly. Yeah. But what's different, or what people don't realize, is that a lobbyist is only good and effective if they're honest and ethical.
Oh, really?
Because we don't have anything to trade on other than our reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as something happens, if you get a shitty reputation,
right,
whether it's about being a dick, or being just completely dishonest, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Once you lose your credibility,
it's done.
Nobody will hire you, nobody will listen to you, and nobody will talk to you.
That's actually very enlightening. It's a good thing. I mean, I'm glad to hear that. Actually, that's you have to be honest, earnest, and have a good reputation, or else people won't even keep you around.
Yeah, most of the things that people know about lobbying is what they see on TV or in the movies.
House of Cards,
or
Remy Danton, or whatever his name is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, probably the closest thing I've ever seen to reality in terms of TV or movies would be Thank You for Smoking.
Nick Naylor.
And
love that movie.
The difference is he was really more of a PR guy than a lobbyist.
PR spinning guy. Yeah,
but
for sure.
Just the way everything played out in there, there were some things that were certainly not accurate or realistic.
Yeah.
But it was a lot closer than anything else I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like that because it's a great movie. It's a very small movie. It's not too complicated. Some real strong characters, the ATF lobby, the alcohol lobby, and then obviously tobacco and stuff. What would you say was your favorite cause that you were lobbying in this 25 years you said as your stint as?
done a lot of different things, but probably it would either be the chemical industry, simply because I think people don't really realize the impact that has on modern life. Anything from what we eat to what we wear to health. It impacts in so many different ways. And then I spent about 5 years working for the National Federation of Independent Business, which is an organization that represents small independent businesses.
Okay.
So the little guy.
Yeah, for sure.
And that was really great too, because you feel like you're and this from the business we're in now. Yeah. There's so many challenges being small.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's regulation or taxes or just competition, everything. The cards are stacked against you.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
Nobody does anything to make it easy. So.
And I don't expect that they will. But so when I keep thinking about this, but like you said, you have time for like, you get really, really involved with the movie, or you get really, really involved with the TV series. Do you just go and like rush through it, or binge watch it, or?
It depends.
Yeah.
Some things. I did Narco in about 3 nights.
Yeah. It's a good. What did you think?
It was I thought it was extremely well done.
Yeah, it's good.
I didn't. It was one night. It was like I was, as a small business owner.
Yeah.
I don't sleep very much, and sometimes I need a little break. So I'm like, I need something to.
Were you enticed to just sniff a bunch of cocaine watching Narco?
I was not. I was enticed to go dig up. Start digging around and see if I could find bundles of money that somebody's left somewhere. But
that's a brilliant idea.
I thought, well, I'm going to check this. I saw somebody had mentioned something about it. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah.
And the first episode, I'm like, you know what? I'm hooked.
I liked it.
Just really well done.
It is. And it's funny. I have a story a little bit about Narco. Like, there are certain things. Lydia will watch most. She loves Goodfellas. Like, that's how I knew that's the woman I want to marry, because she'll sit and watch Goodfellas with me every time it's on TV. Not a lot of girls will do that.
Yeah.
Not a little. But so I was one night, she was out, and I was in the living room watching maybe episode 3 or episode 4 of Narcos, which happens to be a narrative built around fucking. So it's that one episode where there are 4 narratives: the main FBI guy, Pablo, and then one of his workers, and then someone else, and it's all a narrative of fucking. That should be the name of the episode. But they're all fucking around. There's all just a bunch of sex and stuff, and she comes in and she sees it. She's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "Well, it's Pablo Escobar, Medellin and stuff." She's like, "Okay," and she leaves for about 10 minutes. She comes back, more fucking. And she's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, it's a serious show. I swear to God, this was the director's choice for how to tell the story of this episode. So anyway, she has that particular perspective on Narcos. But I agree, it was a really. I'm looking forward to season 2, because presumably, as the tale goes, Escobar escaped the prison that he built, and then he wasn't around that much longer, eluding authorities in Colombia before they just fucking took him out. And it was like a celebrated day and stuff. So I don't know if it can make another 2 seasons of it.
Yeah, I kind of had the impression that maybe what they were going to do is once they finished with him, they were going to go on to
that'd be really cool. Yeah, maybe even get involved with the mob or something,
And one of the things I've wondered about, which I haven't had the time to go and check, is how closely it tracks to the real story.
Pretty close.
I think it is pretty close.
Yeah,
but I wonder how.
So for example, for those of you who haven't seen Narco, this is spoilers, but luckily it's history, so just read history. But no, the picture of he's doing some drug deal in Panama. Right? Remember, I think that was one of the pictures that
was when they had to all like pick up and move down to get out of the.
Yeah, so that was a real thing. The picture that he took, the mugshot where he had assaulted some military guy or something, and then took
and also the guy that they got to play him.
Oh, he's great.
He's like, they could be twins.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Did you ever see the movie? Oh man, shit. Was it this with Matt Damon? I can't remember. But anyway, so I saw him in another movie. I'm like, he's forever Pablo Escobar.
Right.
Like even Benicio del Toro played Escobar in another movie called Paradise Lost or something like that. Great, love him. But this dude in Narcos, like, he's the guy. Do you think like your interest in history was kind of what piqued your interest in the show, or you just like the boobs and the cocaine?
No, I think it's a little bit about the history.
Yeah.
I mean, boobs sell, right?
They do
but
sell, yeah.
it kind of the intrigue. I've always been a little interested in things like, the mob or the cartels, just the fact that they're so big and the way that they work, and you think, it's kind of like it really is a business.
Yeah,
and if you're going to be successful at it, even if it's a huge illegal thing, you have to be a good businessman.
Yeah, or kill some dudes.
Yeah.
Either way, it's the same thing. It's trimming out the talent.
It's a combination, I think, of both.
Yeah.
I mean,
it absolutely is. Which kind of begs the question, like, why? Now, of course, I can be completely hypocritical, and you can ask me the same question. Why the fuck would you get into craft distilling? And actually, I'm asking you. I'm really just asking myself. But
actually,
what was that? What was
that's
that
a
narrative
good question.
like? Like, what were you thinking to even get into that business?
Sometimes I wonder.
Right.
I love it,
Yeah.
but how it happened for me again is like nothing I ever thought about.
Yeah.
It was never on my list of things to do.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of worked out that way.
You got chemicals. You're bad at chemistry, like all craft distillers. No,
right. So here's really how it happened.
Yeah, tell me.
I was in Louisville, Kentucky, at a meeting with some clients, lobby energy related stuff.
Okay.
And actually, I'm going to bring it all together here.
Yeah,
the
please.
whole booze and soccer and everything.
Wow.
So,
I'm
you wouldn't think I could.
I'm going to
this,
see how he ties this all together. Paul Thomas Anderson.
I had broken my ankle playing soccer.
Okay.
I was on crutches. This is the first time that I really had traveled after this happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been like locked up in the house for a while.
Right.
Had this meeting in Kentucky that I went to. Still have the little air cast thing on and crutches. I had a really long day of travel to get there. I get there, it's the night before the meeting, and my client had a bunch of people up in his hotel room for a little happy hour or something. So long day. Traveling on crutches is
not easy.
Yeah. I'm tired. I'm cranky. I'm hungry. I'm bitchy.
Yeah.
Probably nobody wanted to be around me.
Were you smelly?
Probably that.
There we
too.
go. Yeah.
So I hobble into the room, and this guy, I'd met him a few times. I didn't really know him very well. He says, "Hey, you look like you could use a drink." I was like, "Hell yeah!"
Duh.
And he didn't ask me what I wanted. He just kind of comes over and hands me a glass, a little double old-fashioned size glass with some ice and some clear liquid in it. And I'm like, this looks good.
Yeah. What was it?
Well, I didn't know, and I didn't ask. I took a drink. I was assuming, based on what it looked like and how quickly he made it, it was just vodka.
Sure.
Well, it's like, it was really strong.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, this doesn't seem like vodka. It's kind of vodka-ish, but it's really not.
Right.
So what is this? Oh, it's my family's moonshine.
Oh, interesting.
Guys from the next county over.
Yeah.
Been in they've been making it in the family for 3 or 4 generations or so.
Yeah.
And it was really good.
Was it oh man, I don't even want to get nerdy, but so it's good.
Well, so I don't know what the mash bill was or anything like that, because
why would I even ask that
at the time. I didn't think to ask that.
Right. But it wasn't about that bad. It was just about
I've had a long, hard fucking day, and this is
helping.
Wow, this is good.
Yeah.
It's not vodka. It's not anything I've had before. Oh, it's moonshine? Well, my experience with moonshine is it's about twice the proof.
Right.
It's about 4 times, 40 times worse.
Sure, it's way harsher, right?
Harsh, not well made, nothing about it is good. This is actually, wow, this is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I actually took some, we went to dinner in the restaurant down at the hotel. I actually snuck a glass down to have with my meal.
Right.
It's really fucking good.
It kept growing on you.
Yeah. This would have been 2007.
Okay, so still before stuff's really happening in
yes,
this area.
That's kind of an interesting part of the story. So a couple of days later, I'm flying back to Austin, and the wheels are turning. Man, if this guy can make this stuff this well, why not get a permit and sell it?
Right.
So I'm just kind of thinking about that.
Legitimize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the time, we got Tito, we got Dripping Springs,
yeah.
Paula's, and somewhere right around there, I think, is when Treaty Oak released.
Right.
So really not a whole lot else going on. And somewhere along the way, I mentioned this experience that I had to a friend of mine one night, and he's like, "Oh, I've thought about making booze before," and he had kind of thought through different categories of spirits with different branding and marketing and all this sort of what we look back on now and think of as like really hokey sort of Texas overly kind of the stuff that we all hate.
The Reddit I'm gonna start where it's
exactly.
Here's the good examples of bad design, right? Yeah.
But the fact that he had thought about this before, and he had thought some about alcohol as a commodity in certain situations, and things like that. So we just kind of started talking about it, and every time we would get together, invariably it would come up until one day. One of us, I don't remember who, said to the other something along the lines of, "Are we going to talk about this till we're old, or are we going to do it?"
Yeah.
And at some point, it was, I don't know, I guess let's do it.
Yeah.
And so we started poking around. We had no idea how to get into it.
What kind of resources did you use to kind of more understand how to do it? Just the internet or books or people?
So it goes back to lobbying. So, we started kind of poking around and looking at, and one of our thoughts was, may I, by the way? One of our thoughts was that one of the big barriers to entry for any sort of beverage alcohol business is going to be regulatory.
Sure.
And
as Mark pours some bourbon.
Yes.
That was the exchange just now.
Yeah.
Can I pour more of this wonderful bourbon into my glass?
Yeah, because I'm liking it.
Yeah.
So our thought was, both being lobbyists by background, is that all the regulatory stuff is stuff that we eat that for breakfast. Now, neither of us really had worked specifically in liquor law or regulation,
but you're probably not too scared of it.
No, you're not scared at all.
Yeah.
And so we can do this. I will tell you, the smartest thing we did is, instead of trying to go through the application process, both state and federal on our own,
T2E.
we hired a law firm that specialized in that.
Yeah, we did that too. Not for feds, we just did that because that was easy, but for the state, it was way easier.
I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to spend the money.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm a tight ass.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, holy shit, I'm glad
easy.
we did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when was the license issued for you guys at Revolution?
It was August of 2013.
Oh, cool.
So we started talking about this in 2007.
Yeah.
That's how long it took to get
to
from
cement an idea.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time talking, a lot of research. I mean, so much went into every part of it.
Right.
But what was sort of the bellwether thing for us is, as we started looking into it, trying to figure out, well, where do we start with all this? One of the things that we realized is that there had been an effort in the industry to lower the tax rate, the federal excise tax, for small producers.
Right. Oh, which would be nice.
Right.
Hold them to a different kind of account.
Well, so beer and wine have a setup that, for small producers, you pay a lower rate till you get to a certain point, and then you pay the regular rate. Now, and it gets a lot more complicated.
Sure.
For purpose of conversation.
Yeah.
Well, for spirits, it's all the same rate for everybody all the time.
They don't know how to handle that in a different tiered system yet.
Right. So we see that there's been an effort to do this, and you got a bunch of distillers around the country that are working on this who don't really have the background in it.
Yeah.
To give them credit, they had made some pretty good progress despite
not having the background and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
They had gotten a bill introduced in Congress.
Wow.
Which was great.
Federal Congress.
Federal.
Right?
Yeah. But it was authored by a Democrat in the House.
Oh no.
A House controlled by Republicans at the time.
Right. Which is not booze is never not. It's not really a political issue now.
Booze is not.
Yeah.
Most issue. Actually, I'd go back to the other conversation.
Yeah.
Most issues are not political. They get made political by the parties because of the other issues that they want to leverage.
I see.
But the guy's he's a Democrat in a House controlled by Republicans. He's not on the Ways and Means Committee that would hear the bill, so he's got no leverage there.
Right.
And as I understood at the time, he was going to resign at the end of that term.
Yeah.
Wasn't coming back.
Oh, man.
And wasn't really well liked by his own colleagues,
Jeez.
as I understood.
Losing battle then.
Right. But to give him credit, to get that far without any sort of
Pretty
help
good.
from folks who kind of understand the process, was pretty good.
Yeah.
So one of the things we did is we said, hey, you know what? This is something we could help with because this is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And that turned out, we didn't realize it at the time, but that turned out to be such a great thing because we started getting to know a lot of distillers around the country who were also involved in that issue, but it was really great to build those relationships.
Yeah.
And so as we're going through the licensing process, as we're talking about, and here's another thing that I'm sure you find to be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
We have a list of probably 600,000 different things that we want to make.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how do you prioritize? Like, what really makes sense to do now versus later, or ever versus not ever, and things like that.
Right.
But pricing and sourcing, and
which
all
is
these
pure
sort of
business,
things.
and like margins and labor and all that.
Right. How do you do all that? Well, having all these guys that we're working with on the tax issue to be able to say, hey, what's your recommendation on this? How should we approach this?
Yeah.
Things that was really helpful.
That's cool.
And then also through another friend, got introduced to some guys who were brewers that were really interested in distilling. Is
that your staff now? Forrest and such?
We are working on that, yes. And you know what? It's a brilliant group.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know all of them, but
I just know I've met all the guys. I'm not real close with any of them.
Well, so Forrest, in addition to being a brewer, has a culinary degree with a specialty in fermentation.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
I didn't even know they had that.
I didn't either.
Yeah. Brian, a brewer with a background in flavorings, like tea and corporate sort of more sort of on the production end of flavorings and things like that. Super great palates. John, who also is a brewer but has worked in bars, in both Texas and San Francisco, and has a lot of sort of bar specific background.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not much of a beer guy. I'm the wine guy in our group.
I figured
they're all beer people, and so
is that a fight? Is that a hard battle sometimes?
No,
but
not really.
Not,
it's more about I'm always trying to help them understand wine.
Yeah.
And they're
always trying to help you understand beer.
Yeah.
Who's trying to help each other understand spirits then at that point?
We all and that's sort of the thing that's like in the middle is like. There's some things that we all sort of get anyway, and other things that we're still working on.
Yeah.
Brian and I were talking about this today. Really wanting to go out and work on some education in some of the other categories and things that we haven't really played around with.
Yeah.
And
like what, for example?
Well, as an example, I said, we do gin classes from time to time.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, if somebody called me and said, hey, can you come do a gin class tomorrow night at whatever? And like, I would feel completely comfortable just walking in and doing it because I've spent enough time around it. I know it. But, we got to talking about Scotch as an example and, the different areas and different styles and things like, we have some familiarity, but we don't really get it, right?
Not in the same level of detail.
Right. And I think, we're all sort of, in a way, perfectionists.
Yeah.
We want to know everything about everything, which might be a little bit unrealistic.
Sure, but at least it's a worthy pursuit.
Yeah. And we don't want to make crap.
Yeah.
We want to understand what we're making, why we're making it, how it gets made. What are the pros and cons of doing it this way or that way.
Yeah.
Like with our gin, we we use a maceration rather than a vapor basket.
Right.
But we didn't just pick that and go with it. We did both.
Sure.
We played around with different bases, different botanicals, different different columns. Like changing every variable you can imagine. We moved around. We played with it until we got to something we liked. If we hadn't said at one point, "Hey, we like this. Let's make this the first product," we could still be dicking with it today.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens sometimes. Like you're just constantly in the ideation stage, and you don't ever just kind of do it. Well, let's take a moment here to talk about the bottle that we've picked here that we're kind of sipping on that you liked so much. In fact, you pour another glass, which is great. It's a great,
just a little tiny bit.
It's a great fucking bottle. And so, I love bourbon. I won't hide that, and I don't think anybody is doing it right in Texas because we just were behind a couple 100 years of knowing how to do it right. So at any rate, without turning that into conversation. So I picked a bottle, it's kind of a cooperative thing with you and I. And this is the Elmer T. Lee commemorative bottle, which is a higher proof, more barrel selected. So it's a single barrel bourbon. This is at 46.5. This is made by Buffalo Trace. This is to honor the distiller or the foreman. I'm not exactly sure Elmer's title, but it's to commemorate him. And so what do you think about this bourbon? I think he calls them the honey barrels when he was still alive. That's the barrels that he picked as the honey barrels. And I really do get that here.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's really easy to drink.
Sure. For 46 too. I
mean, yeah. It's very smooth. It's, and I mean this in a critical way.
Oh, no,
because there are a lot of different ways to like a lot of different things. And like where I'm not liking it as much right now, I might like it a lot tomorrow. It feels a little bit thin.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not an old one.
Right.
This, to my understanding, it's going to be under 8 years for sure.
Do you know what the mash bill is?
I don't know specifically. It's probably in line with the Buffalo Trace mash bill, and I'm sure if anybody gives a shit out there that's listening, correct me, please, Hank, Kathy, Hank, if you're listening, kind of correct me. I know that the Eagle Rare and Buffalo Trace mash bills are the same, so I'm not sure where this falls in there, but I don't think it's a high rye. I think it's similar to Blanton's, but not a high rye mash bill. Very, very simple and very clean to me.
Yeah, this is definitely something that I would drink neat as opposed to actually. Well, and that's the other thing. Cocktail wise, I like things that are really simple and straightforward.
Me too,
the fewer ingredients, the better.
It's like the Beatles, man. 4 or less.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
But I don't think this is something I would ever mix at all.
No, why?
This is
it's great. It's a cocktail on its own.
It's easy. It's smooth. It's it's not wildly complex or anything like that. So you don't have to you don't have to sit and think about it while you're drinking it.
It's not like easy. It's not like King Crimson. Like you get it. It's like AC/DC, exactly, because it's 3 chords. You fucking get it. You get the hook, and you're like, it's fine just the way it is.
Yeah, and you know that it's always going to be exactly what you're expecting. Right?
Absolutely. Well, so transitioning from the bourbon piece, I was particularly, you guys are doing obviously the gin, which we're both doing gins, and I think that makes us in a kind of an interesting community and peers in that sense. We have the same distributor even, which is interesting. But you guys have put out the Coffee Liqueur, right? What's the proof on that guy?
It's 20%.
20%.
So proof, yeah.
And it is, which coffee are you guys using again?
We use the Mezzanotte blend from Cuvée.
Cuvée, okay.
And we went through and tested several of their blends.
Yeah.
And, it was, that's one of the things that's been really interesting with everything we do. We try so many different variations.
Right.
And
you got a lot of minds at work there.
Different coffee blends at different strengths as we're going through it. Different types of sugar. We ended up using Demerara sugar
which was nice. That's good.
Yeah.
Where's the coffee from?
The coffee, it's a blend of actually, and this is an interesting thing that I didn't realize when we picked it. It's a blend of 3 different coffees, and it changes from time to time. So they Mike actually goes out and chooses the blend, and I don't know how often it changes.
Yeah,
but to kind of
like Nicaraguan, Colombian.
I feel like it is. I'd have to go back and check. I feel like it's all Central and South American.
Yeah, which is why I think that I love that you would use Demerara, because in a sense, like to me, those are connected culturally.
And what's really cool about it is, we tried a number of different sugars before we settled on the Demerara. The reason that we named it Cafecito is because of the Cafecito coffee drink from Cuba, where, if you're familiar,
I'm not.
It's coffee pulled over Demerara sugar.
Oh,
yeah, and that's what they call it, Cafecito.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And
is there rum in there?
No. However, I'll tell you, my favorite cocktail to make with Cafecito right now is either dark rum, bourbon, or rye,
Yeah.
cafecito, and orange bitters.
Oh, that's good. The
Yeah.
orange to brighten it up just a
Yeah.
little bit. That's very cool. How long has that been out now?
We released it the end of July, I would say. Yeah.
It's good. I
And,
still have yet to, I've been meaning to try it, and I still can't.
Wish I'd have known I'd have brought
No,
some.
no, it's fine. I'll find it for sure. But it also leads into you got the gin, you got the coffee liqueur, but also you guys are focusing on 375s of more like real particular expressions of maybe terroir, but local produce, right? In the farmhouse series,
Right.
is what you're calling it, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
What's the objective there? I don't want to put the words in your mouth. It just seems to me it's all local stuff. And
well, so there are a couple of different things that we want to do.
Yeah.
One is, like I said before, each one of us has a huge list of things that we want to do.
Right.
I have an idea in my head about a lot of different gin expressions and variations, and Genevers as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sort of like tracking through history, the way that the products have changed and all.
Yeah.
Different liqueurs, different, at some point, some whiskeys and brandies are in the mix.
Right.
But one of the things that we really love to do is collaborations with friends, neighbors, colleagues, and things like that. And, Jester King being right down the road from us a little bit, we see him a lot. We've ended up trading bottles a lot and things like that.
Yeah.
And so it was just a really natural idea for us to, when they made it available, take some of their fruit to play around with. And, in some cases we might want to distill something. In some cases we might want to do something else with it. But they had fruit from several of their beers. They had a raspberry, a cherry, and an apricot that, once they're done with it,
What are they going to do with it?
Yeah, they're done. Why don't we take it
We'll
and
take the
play
leftovers,
around
Jester
and,
King. Yeah.
We like to play around with stuff, and maybe nothing comes of it, and maybe...
But there's no harm, no foul, right? Yeah.
Maybe something cool happens. So we got this stuff in and decided we'd play around with it a little bit, add a little bit of sugar, a little bit of alcohol, and next thing you know, you have a liqueur. And what's really cool about these is, fruit liqueurs you think of as, like big, bold, in-your-face sort of fruit and sugar, and, this is very different.
Right. What would you say is the main way that it's different? To me, like it actually looks different too.
Well, it looks different. It's unfiltered.
Yeah.
It's so the main difference is, instead of just using fruit, or in some cases, which something else I don't know if we have time to talk about it, is what some people might do is using fruit flavorings or something.
Right. No, we don't have
but,
to.
Yeah,
we can focus on the good work instead of the bad work. Yeah.
So this is fruit that has been fermented.
Interesting.
So it
Are
has
you sugar back in it?
Yeah.
Cool. So it's got an essence of in
so,
the ferment.
So we get their fermented fruit that they've already used in their beer.
Yeah.
And so it's got an entirely different character. So it's got the fruitiness and the yeastiness.
Yeah.
And so we add neutral and sugar and play around with it a little bit. And this first release of these three, it's our first time playing around with them, not really knowing how it's going to come out.
Yeah. And then you said there's a raspberry,
apricot, and cherry.
Cherry. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then very, very limited, all of them.
Yeah. And thank you so much you brought me a bottle. Is it the
I
raspberry?
brought you the raspberry.
Yeah.
And we only had 90 bottles of the raspberry.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
And I'll tell you, between the three, I'm going back and forth on the raspberry and the cherry as to which I like the best.
Right.
Which is not to say I don't like the apricot.
Right.
It's that I've never really liked apricots.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
interesting.
for people who like apricots, I think it's going to be really good.
So they're all actually available and everything now?
They're available at the distillery only.
Oh.
Yeah, there's not enough.
Because you just don't have enough to get
there's not enough to try and go out for distribution.
What's retail looking like for them?
$45 is our price.
Yeah.
And we just released on Saturday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it's so.
It's
so
brand new.
insane. Like the essence of the time is of the essence in these things, and because we'll put this interview out, and like they will just have been out. Hopefully, people will be talking about it, and I can, by the time I do like the voiceover stuff, I will have tried it in excess.
Excellent.
I hope. Yeah.
I think you'll. I hope you'll like it. I mean,
I'm sure
it's different. It's not a typical fruit liqueur. I would, going back to the conversation about wine versus beer versus whatever.
Yeah.
The way that I would describe it is an old world wine versus a new world wine.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little more earthy and dirty and complex and
Right.
subtle. And the other thing that you will notice over time is that when we do things that are typically thought of as sweeter,
Uh-huh.
we're not big on over sugaring
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit pulled back on the sugar.
But that's good. I mean, if it's tart or very tart or whatnot,
Yeah.
I'm interested to try.
So what's interesting, it's really cool, really different. Probably not going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
One of the things that we haven't done a lot with yet,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so little of it, is playing with it in cocktails.
Yeah.
So one of the questions we're starting to get a lot is, well, what are some good things to do cocktail wise? Well,
Right.
I don't know, because there's so little of it. I don't
You
want to waste
time to play around with it.
Yeah, I don't want to take a chance on something not being good.
Right. I totally
Yeah.
understand. It's difficult, man. I've had that same
Yeah.
kind of dilemma too. So what do you see? So you got the license in 2013. You guys are probably at some point here coming up on your two-year anniversary, or you done that?
2 years of being on the retail shelf
Yeah.
will be in, I guess, April
Oh, that's
of next
great.
year. But we, actually, let me think about that. We sold our first bottles at the distillery in February of 14.
Oh,
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we're coming up
Almost
right
2
up on
years.
2 years.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. Is there anything that you're willing to talk? Now I can always look at the labels that have been approved, and sometimes I get ahead of people, and I'm like,
Right.
I'll go look through the TTB, and they're like, "How the hell did you know I got my mezcal approved?" I'm like, I just looked, man. It's public. But is there some other things you guys are working on that you're really excited to share yet?
Yeah, and one of the things that we're very particular about is being open and honest and transparent about what we do and how
Right.
we do it,
Sure.
why we do it, all those sort of things. And so if you come out to the distillery,
Full open book.
open book.
Yeah.
You know what? We use purchase NGS as the base for our gin
Sure.
and our cafecito. And you come out, there's a tote sitting right there, and we tell you exactly where we got it, what we
Right.
do with it, and why we do it.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Because Tito would never do that. He'll take him get sued before he starts to disclose.
Well-
Sad there, but
And I have really strong feelings about sourcing and labeling and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And I think there's nothing wrong with bringing in something from somewhere else and blending it at your place
sure.
if it's good.
Yeah.
And if you're honest about what you did and how you did
Totally agree. Yeah.
it, just own it.
And I think that's a
So-
big problem. Like, we'll end on this. So, like, oh wait, no, you are working on something. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, so we have some fruit brandies that we've been working on,
Mhm.
where we've gone out and hand harvested the fruit, brought them in, done all the mash, fermentation, everything
Right,
in house, and that's a little bit further off
Sure.
because our facility right now, we don't have temperature control.
Yeah, it's hard to get them ferment.
Yeah,
The right way,
So
yeah.
right now it's like we might do one and it comes out great, and the next one we do and it's like totally fucked up.
Right. These summers, man.
Yeah.
They kill your ferments.
But we're working on that, and so we have some plans for some fruit brandies and also some whiskeys
Mhm.
that we want. If we get to the point where we're doing those, we'll do everything 100% in house.
Yeah.
But we're not going to do it until we have the right environment to do it right.
Yeah.
The gin, as an example, if we were making the gin all in house the way
Mhm.
that we wanted to do it, we would have to have an $85 retail price on it.
Right.
People will pay that for a good bottle of bourbon.
Not
Hell,
for gin.
people will pay that for a bad bottle of bourbon.
They do pay that
But
for a
for
bad
gin,
bottle of
yeah,
bourbon.
but for
Yeah.
gin, nobody's going to pay that.
Yeah,
so
it's not gonna happen.
It makes sense for us to do it that way.
Yeah.
And if we're going to do it that way, we're going to go out and we're going to be very particular about what neutral spirit we buy, who we buy it from,
Yeah.
and we're going to be really honest with you about the fact that we do that. Here's where it's from. This is what we do. This is how we manipulate it. This is how we redistill everything.
Right.
If you come out and say, "Hey, is it okay to take a picture?" Like, yeah, there's nothing in here.
We're not hiding anything.
We have absolutely nothing to hide.
That's good.
So product-wise, yeah, we're working on some fruit brandies.
Mhm.
We are working on an Amaro,
Cool.
or maybe some Amaros.
Sure.
Some bitters. And
Lots of stuff.
lots of stuff. If you come out, you'll see our little experimental shelf of all the little things we're playing with.
Yeah.
Some which will never go anywhere.
But it doesn't matter because sometimes
Yeah.
you just have to write the song for yourself, and then no one will listen to it.
Exactly.
It's how it goes,
Yeah.
man. But it's been great chatting with you, Mark. And I love gin partners. I love some craft distillers, but I like the guys that are being honest about it and very open to full disclosure. And that's what I think is going to elevate the category and whatever craft spirits are. I don't like the word craft, to be honest.
I don't either. And I'll tell you, we very particular. I mean, it's an easy word to use. We use it internally all the time.
Sure,
we use
that's
it when
different,
we're talking.
though. Yeah.
But as far as marketing materials, website, you know, when we're out talking about it, we really try not to use it.
Yeah.
You know, that word means a lot of different things to
and it's a
people.
crutch for marketing.
It is, yeah. And I want people to make their own decision about what it is we make, how we make it. You know, come out and see the place. You know,
you
see
decide
what we do and how we. You know, I don't care if it's craft or not. What I want it to be is good.
Yeah,
I want
good
you to enjoy it. Good,
metric.
Accessible, understandable. Something that, particularly with gin, because there were so many people that, just like me, when they were young, had a really bad experience with gin because they started with something that wasn't well made.
Right.
And
but that can happen with anything.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, I won't drink wild turkey. Like, why the fuck won't you drink wild turkey? That is an amazing bourbon. That 101 bourbon, it's killer. Like, but you got to change and kind of be open to quality stuff. But it's good because you're fighting a good fight with it, and it's good to be on the same team.
Right.
Well, so. But anyway, thanks so much for chatting with me, Mark, and I look forward to trying that raspberry liqueur. Man, it's going to be a killer. So thank you. Well, there we have it. Mark Shilling, a true Texanite, potentially a true lobbyist, a true politician, making some amazing things out there in Dripping Springs. Had a chance to sit down and enjoy that raspberry liqueur, the Farmhouse series, as they call it, and it is insanely textured. Has a lot of elements to it. It's got a beer quality to it. It's unlike anything I've tried before, and it's very romantic in that sense. So if you get a chance to try some of Mark's products over there at Revolution, please do. They've got the Revolution Gin. They have the Farmhouse series of liqueurs. They have an upcoming Amaro, apparently. And, of course, Cafecito, which is a coffee liqueur. And it will really, especially, it's going to get colder. I know that's kind of a joke this week since it's in the 70s, but it's going to get colder in Austin eventually. There's nothing finer than a little bit of coffee liqueur in your coffee as you head to the distillery, head to the office, or simply head to the couch to watch Judge Mathis. So without further ado, thanks everybody for listening to Show to V with Mike G. And no matter what you do, no matter how many gifts you get this holiday season, please keep dancing.